I am absolutely energized by talking to people. This is a little hard for me. This is the mood lighting that's going on. So I need a little bit of extra help this morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you. And I want to absolutely thank Jason Rodriguez and the Z Prime organization. CPS Energy has been affiliated with Z Prime for several years. And if you kind of looked at some of the past honorees, my predecessor, my boss, before I became CEO, was also an awardee. And so I know what the significance of this is. And Masood Amin, unbelievable person in our industry, a dear friend of CPS Energy, and Ann Parmigiari, man, I got to meet her in terms of her thought leadership at the Aspen Institute. So I am honored to be with you here today, and I'm honored to be in this industry. And I'm going to talk about some new dimensions for us, a deepening appreciation of where we are in the industry. But I want to give you a little context. You may have heard, or you may have heard people say, I am so non-traditional in this industry, it's not even funny. Obviously, there aren't a lot of women CEOs. Obviously, there aren't a lot of African-American CEOs. Not an issue, not a differentiator that stops me, but I get it. I am an accountant by education and training. Matter of fact, one of the biggest questions I got asked as I was being offered the position to run the organization is, how are you going to do this? You're an accountant, and the organization has never had an accountant run the organization. This is an engineering firm led by engineers with deep experience in generation, deep experience in the distribution end of the business, and how are you going to do it? And I must have been asked that question 10 times. I got interviewed by council members, board members, community members, and probably every single one of them asked me that question. And of course, I got tired of answering the same way, so I probably said things like, well, I'm an engineer of accounting data, and that didn't go over very well, just like that joke. Or I said, look, I've been there for 13 years, and so I picked up a few things along the way, and I do believe that everything is in translation. I do believe that, and in fact, accounting is kind of a universal language. Financials are a universal language. I don't care what country I've been to, what industry I've worked in, and I've worked in several. Debits are pretty much in the same place, and so are credits, and so I can do that. But I think ultimately what got it for me, and I have been able to live through, is this business is changing tremendously. And you can't solve it through a single prism anymore. You can't engineer your way through generation technology and be sold. I mean, you got to have it. That's big. It's a big part of what we do, but that's not it. You can't assume that you can legislate your way through the industry and maneuver through the politics of things. That's not the sole thing you've got to do. You can't assume that you can make everybody like you. By far, we know that. It is a business with a lot of complexities, a lot of dimensions, and a lot of layers. That's true. But also, it is changing right now. CPS Energy in particular is kind of an epitome, a great example of what this industry has been, and we want it to be a great example of what it will be. So we've been around for 158 years. We've been owned by the community for 75 years. Municipal power is different. We are, though, a business owned by community. And CPS Energy in particular, what I like to say is we do it all. We're not relegated to one end of the industry or another. We generate power, we transmit it, we distribute it, we service customers, we bring in new products, we think about innovation. We have to think about it on every single plane. But the exciting thing is we get to apply solutions along the way, and we get to break our paradigm. But that's no simple task. Last year in our organization, I spent so much time talking about we have a burning platform for change right now, absolutely burning. And so we studied these businesses. We went all the way back to, there was an industry for buggies, and there was an industry for whips for horses. There was an industry for, most recently, photo finishing. There was a great company called Kodak. And when Jason showed his picture of his family, which was just an awesome sharing experience, that was probably a Kodak processing opportunity. And at the time, we thought that was an amazing thing, that you would actually take film, take pictures, go up to a kiosk, drop it in there, and wait 4 or 5 days to get your pictures. And you were excited about it. Those of you who were living back then, I realize the industry is changing, and so not everybody is as old as I am. But now, no, technology is right in your hand. You don't need a camera. Matter of fact, most people say, I judge cameras by pixels. The technology is so good. The availability of what you can do is so awesome, and everything is changing. But interestingly, we had to have deep and frequent conversations about why that type of change right now is what we have to get ready for in our industry. What I love about Z Prime is they were helping us talk about those things years ago. And they have thought about, how do we get the dialogue going? I wish this auditorium was a football field. And I wish there were many people around here that would really understand the amount of thought that is going in to try to make all of these partnership opportunities work, try to figure out how technology really will fit and what the journey will look like. Hence, we are here, and we are the drivers, and everyone in our industry now has an opportunity to figure it out. Now, evolution, the discussion was, are we in a revolution or an evolution? I believe we're in an evolution. I believe that survival of the fittest will get us to the point where we will drive this business to be something very different. A business that can optimize current investments, but accept new infusions of new investments and new ideas. All under the prism of serving customers better. I still think we have a way to go. Ultimately, I still hear people, and I'm not being critical, but I hear it. Every time I hear it, I go, ugh, ratepayers. And I get the essence of what that is. We're thinking about ratepayers because still there's this belief that what we do in service is like an obligation and a burden, that somebody has to protect them, customers, from the utility who, maybe rightly so, earned a reputation of really kind of trying to stay out of the limelight of customers. And admittedly so, maybe energy hasn't been super sexy. So we let it be ratepayers. But I would implore you, and I'm going to go through my slides very quickly, we are absolutely talking about relationships with people, the full spectrum. And in fact, we have to be welcoming and connected to every single customer, whether they believe what we believe or not, and really think about them, about the personalization of service to them. Now, if we're close to the customer, they're our customer, the thing about municipal power, we live in the community that we serve. My customers can walk up to me, grocery store, church, walking down the street, and tell me exactly what they think. There's no distance, no technology burden, nothing. They can get to me. And we optimize that. We optimize that as good feedback, good connection. We're right where we're supposed to be. And we're wanting to bring in, and we're working always to bring in more of our partners so they can make those connections to our customers. And that's what's really important. Now, let me kind of delve into the presentation. Normally, I do a lot of presentations. I go all over and I talk about different things, and eventually, after you do this for a while, you end up using the same repertoire of materials, and whether or not you're talking about shifts in your portfolio or something else, you end up kind of being in the same position. But this time, they said, think about culture. Think about culture. That's different, and I love that. Z Prime asked us to talk about something not technical, right? Get down to the essence of people. So here we go. San Antonio, and I would say, how many people are from Texas? Help me. Okay, good mix. If you're in Texas, you know something. Every major city in Texas has a different personality profile. Austin, I always say, Austin, keep Austin weird, love it, been coming here for years. A great place, here we are, beautiful city, different than Houston, huge, multicultural in a much deeper way, Broadway. Dallas and Fort Worth, kind of a whole different conservative metroplex. El Paso's different, Corpus. But here's San Antonio. Just a bird's eye view, we are predominantly Hispanic. That runs through our core of who we are. And we are accepting and really believe that that makes us rich in our heritage. This demographic says, but we also have a very youthful demographic. A good portion, over 50% of our citizens are under the age of 35. And food is extremely, extremely important to us. That has ranged from being labeled as one of the fattest cities in the nation, which we're not super proud of, but we are super proud of our food and our heritage. And we actually got a UNESCO award, and our missions also have a World Heritage designation. So for us, the culture of food and partnership and people and connection is a big, big thing. When you say, well, what is it about energy that is connected to that? It's the service provider for all of the growth around all of the industries, including the culinary industry. And a huge amount of my friends, through my husband, are actually chefs. So if anything goes down in the Pearl, or there's any issue with a restaurant, I get a phone call. And that's okay. And just in general, we're a party city. How many people have been to Fiesta? All right, okay, yeah. Fiesta is it's in April, it's coming right up. What I do tell people, Fiesta is Mardi Gras with our clothes on. We're a conservative group of people, but we like to have a good time. The city parties for 10 days long, and again, we are there in the middle of it, enjoying life with our customers at the same time, making sure that we're doing all kinds of prep to make sure that everything goes on without a hitch. And this is, so if Austin is keep Austin weird, I like to say San Antonio is secretly cool and connected. Because we are a modest group, and again, that personalization, that reach out is really important. If you go to San Antonio and you do business with us, people will ask you 10 questions all about you. And when I first got back here, I was born in San Antonio. When I first got back, I was offended by that. But in reality, that is how we learn, and that's how we eventually connect each other to other things and new opportunities, and kind of that's our culture. And so it really aligns to what we did a couple of years ago when I took the company over. I said, well, what am I going to do to really kind of change our view about everything as an engineered solution? And so we have a people-first philosophy. We understand who our customers are, we understand who we are, and we make sure that we are always engaged so we can serve the community and our customers better. So I'm going to go pretty fast. I talked about this. This is us by the numbers. Here's our heritage and how long we've been. This slide really talks about our movement and the evolution, and I would say we've really intensified that over the last year. You can't hardly see, but if you look again to the far end where it says Ratepayer, I have slashed it out. My goal in this industry is to eradicate that term out of our industry. So every time you see me and I hear the word Ratepayer, I'm going to go like that, just to give you some kind of weird, visceral reaction, and hopefully we can squeeze it out of what we do and how we talk about our business. We are paying attention. Again, we have a youthful group. Most people have cell phones, no matter what demographic they have. The interesting thing is that older individuals are actually using technology more. My father-in-law, my husband and I joke, my father-in-law had a fight with Siri early in his use of the iPhone, and he found out that she did not like curse words. But the importance is he's getting more and more comfortable, and eventually he's going to want to do more things on his phone, and including interacting with us. We are going through and adding technology because that is the key, and it's on the distribution end just like everyone else. And we're adding programs that speak to the things that are important. We have so many layers of new offerings in solar, community solar, rooftop solar. Doesn't matter your demographic. We look for ways for anybody to be able to participate in our programs. And we penetrate in terms of all across the community to make sure that we have the right dispersion. I'm gonna just quickly say, that said, we are leveraging our existing portfolio. We are making sure that the portfolio that we have now really continues to work. And that leverage of what we have is letting us put in new opportunities, more renewables, energy storage. We have a big energy storage project that we're working on. That's the key. And this, I will make my slides available, but this is really kind of the journey as we see it. We expect to be passing the 50% mark in renewables. Now, the environmental community is poking me in the eye and saying, not fast enough, Paula, not fast enough. But the point is, we're on our journey, and our path is called flexible, which means that we aren't done. Over the next 25 years, I think a lot of things will materialize. This is just a way to get started, and we're going to lean in as heavily as we can to get there. So this is kind of our pictorial. When we go to schools and across the community, we show that's what we think a connected, smart community looks like, implementing new solutions along the way. And we're going to also do it through education. We are now working on an epicenter. Kimberly Britton is our CEO of the epicenter. We are donating one of our old plants that have been decommissioned. That is going to be a thought leader center. My hope and goal is that we do a seminar for Z Prime here, and that we go back and forth over what I call the San Antonio-Austin corridor to make sure that we are really expanding all the goodness that is happening in the industry. And this ultimately will be one of our location spots to really have those conversations and convene. So I will end with this. I always like to say, we serve 1.4 million people in our community, 1,500 square miles of coverage. And the point is, when I talk to anyone, electrons and molecules love everyone. So we don't care whether people think blue or red or how the people vote or where they go. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. This industry powers life and creativity and growth. And without it, nothing happens. But we got to be smart. We got to do it affordably, reliably, use all of the goodness in the room to make it happen. I am proud to be part of the industry now. It took me a while to get here, but I'm here. Thank you so much for what you're doing. This is amazing time, and I'm glad to be here on the journey with you. Thank you.